as the on-air light illuminates, except it's just a little live thing up in the corner of my screen. But still, it counts, right? It counts, I think, doesn't it?
Does.
Yeah, exactly. Hello and welcome, everybody. I know that there is one person here watching live, so thanks for that. And then hello and everybody that will be watching this at a later time and or date. This is, hey, I saw those guys. We're going to, the three of us who I will introduce everybody in a moment here are just going to talk about a couple of different acts that we have seen live. I've seen both of the acts that they're going to talk about live, and they haven't seen the one that I'm going to talk. I don't know. We'll figure it out. We got an hour to figure it out. That's way too many words to talk about. Anyway, thanks very much for joining me. First up on the top, only because he's on the top and he was in the chat first. But Rob from Northern Revolutions. Rob, how are you this evening?
I am doing well, my friend. How are you?
I'm good, thanks. You and I last did something live last Wednesday, and you sounded like hell, but you seem to be much feeling better anyway. Look,
I feel
good, but
I feel 100% better. My voice is still a little crackly, but I had a kind of a chest cold kind of deal. But today's the first day I've sounded mostly normal.
That's
But yeah, last Wednesday I was in pretty rough shape. But I soldier on and I keep hosting the Wednesday live chat. And yeah.
Yeah, that was fun last week. We talked about the eclipse, which you were a big fan of.
Oh, yeah.
If anybody hasn't seen that, go back and watch because Rob's a huge fan of the eclipse.
There's not a way that I could care less.
I know. Yeah, exactly.
Did you get to film any of it?
No, my wife and son saw because we were literally 20 minutes outside of where it was 100% totality, and I just don't care.
He just didn't care.
The moon moved in front of the sun. Big deal. Whatever.
Oh, you don't care. Oh, I thought you cared.
I'm curmudgeon-y in my old age.
He is a little bit, but that's
Get off
right.
my lawn.
Get off my lawn, son. Get off my lawn,
at all
son.
where I live. You can't. It never was here in Washington. We were too far west to even have it happen.
I'm about an hour and change from Niagara Falls, and that's where it was 100%. So if we drove 30 minutes, it would have been 100%. But I was so sick of people talking about it. I'm just like, I'm glad the damn thing's over with. There
you go. And I should also introduce my other special guest tonight, and that's Catherine S. I'm not sure what the S stands for, but
it's my last name. But
I kind of thought so. So, and you've been on
my last name.
Yeah, and you've been on before, and thank you very much for coming back and joining once again.
Thank you.
Yeah, you're welcome. Okay, so without further ado, again, we're just going to talk about a couple of different acts that we've seen live, and I've got a third that I'm going to add, but I'll wait till the end and talk about that. But Catherine, we're going to let you start us off this evening.
Okay.
All right. Who are we going to talk about first tonight?
I'm going to talk about Elton John, who I saw a long time ago in 1995.
Oh, a while ago.
Oh, okay. A long time ago. But I would say it's probably one of the best concerts I've ever seen in my whole life. Even though I liked everything I've seen.
Yeah, no, exactly. We haven't had that conversation on here yet. I've seen, I don't know, maybe 300. I can't remember. Anyway, a bunch of shows, something like that. There's been 3 that I haven't enjoyed. So that's a pretty good average. But Elton John was definitely not one of the ones that I did not enjoy because I've seen him 4 times. And each time was fantastic. And he's one of my wife's guys. Him and David Bowie. So she saw David, I didn't. But anyway, I digress. So let's talk a little bit about 95. I've seen him more recently, like in the 2000s, and then on the farewell tour as well. And I've got a set list, and we'll bring that up. But tell me about back in 95. Was that full band tour at that point?
Well, I remember. Let's see, Davy Johnstone, the guitarist. He's been with Elton for a long time. He was there.
Right.
But at that time, I wasn't too into remembering who things were when I was at that age.
Sure, that's fair.
But it's very important to me now.
Yes.
But I'm just going to say, I've been a fan of Elton since I was a little girl. And it's because he was on The Muppet Show.
Yeah, yep.
So, I was like 7 years old when he was on The Muppet Show. Yeah. And it's one of the best Muppet Show episodes on there.
Arguably, the only one better for me is Alice Cooper. For me, anyway.
Blondie
Yeah.
was pretty good too. But
Yeah.
the reason why I'm bringing that up is because that made me very aware of him. And I asked my mom if I could take piano lessons after seeing that
Yeah.
because I wanted to play like him. And
Yeah.
it didn't happen, but I've always admired his skills. And he's a classically trained pianist, and he got to go to a music school for kids when he was like 9 because he was so good. He was a prodigy. And you know, a lot of his music, especially that first record in the United States, was a classical inspired uh, album, and it's my
Mhm.
favorite. So to get the story rolling, I'm going to show a few Elton John albums and just tell you why 95 was a really great time to see him. So
Please do.
this is from 1987. This is his live album with the symphony in Australia. And this was his last performance before he had vocal surgery to remove polyps. So in Elton John's book, this is his autobiography. And he talks about, you know, feeling some anxiety about that surgery. He was seeing a very skilled surgeon, but in his mind, he was thinking, what if I can't sing again?
Yeah.
And he had to take time off. And if you know Elton's personality, he doesn't like to take time off. He's a
No.
very much a person who loves performing. He doesn't slow down. He's always working on something or doing something with his career. So in his book, he explained how difficult it was to take time off. But he couldn't sing. He could still play the piano, and that's what he did.
Right.
So he ended up composing, I'm trying to think of his album after. Oh, his album after that was this one. So this one's called Sleeping with the Past. And this is his best-selling 80s album. It has Sacrifice, which went to #1, Club on the End of the Street, and let's see what else is on here. Healing Hands. It's kind of a gospel-y song.
Yep.
When I was in senior in high school when this came out, and I dig this album. I love it a lot. It's very upbeat, and it's dedicated to Bernie, and he actually patterned this after Billy Joel's The Innocent Man because it's kind of inspired by Motown music. So the thing about this one is this after this album was done, he actually didn't tour for this, and it wasn't promoted well.
Right.
And he checked himself into drug rehab after that album.
Well, did you see you've seen the doc, or not the document, it's not a documentary. You've seen the movie, correct? Rocket Man?
Yeah, it's based off of this. This is better. This is more detailed, and it's not told with a sense of humor. I mean, it kind of is, but
right.
This is serious stuff in here.
I just remember the opening scene, right, where he runs into the rehab, and he's full costume, for lack of the proper term. So when you said that, it made me think of that.
Yeah, he wasn't in a costume. It's actually a really funny story. He wanted to go to the rehab center in California where like George Harrison went, but they said, I'm sorry, but you have more than one addiction. You know, it was alcohol, it was drugs, and he had an eating disorder.
Yeah.
So he went to drug and alcohol rehab first in, I think, Chicago. And then after that, he went to a eating disorder recovery center. So he was out of commission for a while.
Right.
And then he got out of there and he just thought, how am I ever going to get my career back? And then he had that album, the One album, and he had that song. And then after that, he got that call from Tim Rice and he started working on The Lion King. So that was a big comeback for him. Like he was volunteering at a soccer club where he used to play soccer, and he just kept himself busy because he was kind of going crazy. Like, how are things going to get back up when I'm this far down?
Right.
Like he had some unsuccessful albums in the 80s too. So anyway, The Lion King. And I don't have the album anymore, but this came out in 95. See, I probably should rebuy that album, the Made in England album, because it's actually pretty decent. But the songs on that album that were singles are on this too.
Right.
So the songs, I'll find it. Believe and Blessed were on that Made in England album. I Believe in Love and then the lead single. So all I remember is he played pretty much everything you can imagine that's in his. I mean, I got to see 3 decades of music. I got to hear 70s stuff, 80s stuff, and he played both of the Lion King songs, which I love those. And then he played the 3 singles that were from the new album because he was promoting that new album. But
Right.
it always puzzled me, why doesn't he ever play Leave On? Because I like the song Leave On. It's one of my favorite Elton John songs. But I
Right.
know currently he plays that song again. But at the time I saw him, he didn't play Leave On.
Yeah, I think. Well, you know what? Here, I'm gonna bring up the set list of the most recent time that I've seen him, which was up in Saskatoon. So again, I've seen him. I've seen him 4 times myself and my wife Joanne, and it's been fantastic every time. Now, the difference with seeing him live recently, again, I say recently, but in 2000, and one time was just him on the piano, no band, which was very cool as well. And then this would
Mm-hmm.
be the farewell tour. But and you can see he sings Leave On. But the one thing that kind of stands out for me live is that his voice is still outstanding. It's just an octave lower. He
Mm-hmm.
can't quite, like, especially in Crocodile Rock, the la 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 la's are just, well, he lets the crowd sing most of them anyway now for the most part. But that was the only thing as far as his voice that, from my perspective anyway, it was an octave lower. He just couldn't quite hit the high notes. He still hit the notes. They were still perfectly fine. They were just an octave or 2 lower, something like that. I mean,
Yeah,
um,
it's an octave. He said that in his book. He has a kind of a deeper voice than what he had before.
yeah, but it still sounds fantastic. And so, yeah, the first time that we saw him was 2002 or 3, 4, something like that, and it was just him and the piano, and it was outstanding. And I'll save a story about that till later. But remind me in case I forget. Just go Joe the piano story. But here's the set list. So, I mean, it's 25 songs long. And again, as you said, Catherine, it's everything you wanted to hear. This was the farewell Yellow Brick Road tour. So
Mm-hmm.
starts off pretty strong with Benny and the Jets, and then All the Girls Love Alice, and I mean, it's hits and hits and hits and hits and hits. Really, the only kind of non-hit is Indian Sunset, but I think he did that for himself. There was the one that he wanted to get in there and talk about, but there's Believe. There's sad songs, it's everything. And then, of course, the encore, he comes back with Your Song and Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. So, and I've seen him before, and he's actually done about 30 songs earlier as well. I'm not sure why the set was just a little bit, but 3 hours long, unbelievable band. It was still Nigel and it was still Davey on the guitar, and then others. And there was a lot of, there was a horn section and backup singers, and everybody was really, really good. And, I just have not been disappointed. And I guess I can't necessarily say make sure you go and see him, because I think he's the one guy, when he says it's done, it's done. I think. I could be wrong, but the Dodger Stadium one was the big deal for North America. And then, more recently was the last time, period. So
I think he did a show not too long ago in Madison Square Garden. Like he's going to do probably a little show here and there, but he's not going to tour big
it's
anymore.
not going to be tours anymore. Yeah, exactly. So but as you mentioned, he never stops. He just kind of
Yeah.
keeps going. And for some reason, I think he's probably doing okay, despite the fact in that one commercial he says that he's a little skint. I don't think he is, but he always seems to worry about it. It's like, oh my God, I have to prepare for the future. Well, Elton, you're just about 80, and you probably got a couple of bucks saved up. But anyway, I'm glad he still keeps doing it. So, Rob, just haven't had a chance, or hasn't, or doesn't appeal, or a little of both, maybe.
I I appreciate. I mean, I think he's genius, absolutely.
Sure.
And I like the hits, and I have Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. But I mean, he could be playing next door, and I'd go, yeah, whatever. Like, it's not, it's just not something that I'm like, I've got to see Elton John. No, I mean, I guess I'm exaggerating. If someone said, here's a ticket to go see Elton John, of course I'm going to go. Arguably the greatest rock pop music piano player ever. So I mean, I guess I would go, but I wouldn't pay myself to go because I'm just,
Yeah.
I like him, but not anything that I would rush to go see in concert.
Exactly. And it was 2002. It was I don't know if it was a specific tour or not, but it was just him. It was just him on the piano, and that was great. I really enjoyed later seeing
no band, just him.
Pardon me?
No band, just him?
No band, just piano.
Oh, that's cool.
It was very good. Yeah, just grand piano right in the middle of the stage. And yeah, it was really, really good. So
you gotta have some stage presence to carry that by yourself for that amount of time. Good for him.
Yeah, and he
did fun. You can actually go on his channel and look at live performances that he has on his playlists, and you can see some of those ones where he's just playing the piano acoustic all by himself.
Cool.
Yeah, it's really good. And he's he's got a camera that kind of sits on the edge of the piano as well, so you get to see that. Okay, I'm just going to tell the piano story now so that I don't forget. So it's that concert. Joanne and I are walking out, and from behind, these two ladies are behind us, and they're talking, oh, that was so good. It was really, really great. It was fantastic. And then the one goes, yeah, but there was a little too much piano. Holy shit. Where did you think you were? You're not at a Van Halen concert. You're at an Elton John concert, and there's no band. It's only the piano. So I just, in the grand scheme of ridiculous comments, that one always comes up when there's something, I'm not sure other scenarios, but it's like, oh yeah, there's too much piano, right? It's like, yeah.
It's kind of like the store where I work. They have one-day sales, and someone will come up and say, how long is your sale?
Yeah, exactly.
And I'm like, it's one day.
Yep. So, all right. Well, we'll get back to some more Elton talk, but let's bring Rob into the conversation. And Rob, despite the fact that you are not a fan of at least one member, I'm not sure if it's only one.
Right.
We're going to talk about a band that you've seen once or more than once.
Only once.
Yeah.
Once and only once. And that was the Eagles.
Yeah.
And the reason I thought about talking about tonight, because you've probably heard the controversy on the internet. It's been proven that the last few tours Don Henley has been singing to, he's been lip syncing, which does not surprise me at all. So yeah, here's my history with the Eagles. The Eagles is one of those bands that everybody loves to hate for whatever reason. I love the Eagles. I think they're awesome. I think they're incredible. That said, and I won't swear because I'm on your channel, Joe, but I think Don Henley is the biggest ass there is. And Glenn Fry is almost as bad. Let's put it that way. Just two of the biggest dicks in the music business. But, I can kind of set that aside because I love the music. So,
right.
They've screwed over a lot of people. What they've done to Don Felder is inexcusable. Whatever. But I've been an Eagles fan forever and ever and ever. Probably since when I got into music in the, mid 90s when I was a teenager. I always wanted to see them, but the Eagles notoriously have incredibly high ticket prices. They're often known for being some of the most expensive concerts going. So I thought I'm never going to get to see the Eagles because I'm not going to spend $250 a seat to go see them. And that's not even for a good seat. That's, an average seat. Yep. So I just resigned myself that it's never going to happen. Well, then in 2007, they put out their first studio album in 27 years, which no one ever thought would happen. I mean, no one ever thought they'd get back together, but then Hell Freezes Over came along and, that was what it was. But I thought, oh my God, a new Eagles studio album. We could discuss the merits of whether this is a good album or not.
Sure.
That aside, this is something 27 years in the making. There's never going to be another new Eagles studio album. So I said to my wife at the time, girlfriend, who was also an Eagles fan, I'm like, you know what? They're going to come to Toronto because obviously it's the biggest venue in Canada.
Everybody does. Yeah.
Right. So I'm like, we've got to go. I mean, this is going to be kind of a once in a lifetime thing. It's going to be expensive, but let's do it. So, we spent $200 a seat, and, they were okay seats. Like, they're fine. And we went to see them at Air Canada Center, which is now Scotiabank Arena, where the Leafs play. And it was everything that I hoped it would be. As much as Henley and Fry are asses, pardon me.
You can say it. It's fine.
Assholes. On stage, they are consummate professionals. And so the show that they put on was phenomenal. They played for 2.5 hours. I sent you the link in the private chat, Joe. If you want to pull up the set list, you can. You don't have to. It doesn't really matter.
No, I can. Yeah, for sure.
So I'm like, I get to see the Eagles, and I was, on that tour, it was, before Glenn Fry had passed away. So that was, you had Henley and Fry, and you had Joe Walsh, who is my guitar hero. Joe Walsh is in my mind, the greatest guitar player that has ever lived. And Tim Schmidt. So, it was, a lineup of the Eagles that I like and enjoy. So I was happy to see them, and they come out and they're all dressed in suits, just like the Beatles. And Fry says, if suits are good enough for the Beatles, it's goddamn well good enough for us. And they put on a very professional concert. Like I said, they played for 2.5 hours, and they did all the hits. And what I loved is, we got some of the new stuff like How Long and Busy Being Fabulous. And, Long Road Out of Eden is a double album, and arguably it's a bloated album. And I've talked about it on my channel before. I think had it been a single album, it would have been a good album. Just too much on there. So they played most of the stuff from the first disc, which is really good. The second disc of the album kind of sucks. And they did play a couple songs off of that, like the title track, which is a snoozer. But by and large, it was a really, really, really good show. And, to see my guitar hero, Joe Walsh, do some of those solos, like during Hotel California, for me was damn near a religious experience. Like, it was just, I was in awe. I mean, I've worshipped how this man plays guitar. I'm a shitty guitar player. I mean, don't let all the guitars fool you. I play, but not well.
Yeah.
And it was just a spectacle to behold, to see them. And it was everything that I'd hoped it would be. So I've not seen them since. And I wondered to myself, after Glenn Fry passed away, and they brought in Vince Gill and Deacon Fry, Glenn's son, to replace him. I thought, it's not the Eagles. And then they put out that Live at the Forum 2018 box set, which is amazing. Best Eagles live record. I'm sure there's probably some overdubs and stuff in there, but it's incredible. And Vince Gill fits into the band perfectly, and Deacon Fry does a great job. And I thought to myself, why isn't that the Eagles? The Eagles is kind of a musical collective, much in the way that Fleetwood Mac is, right? There's multiple lineups of the band, but all of the lineups of the band have contributed to the discography of the band. So whether it's the early Eagles or whether it's Long Road Out of Eden Eagles, to me, it's still the Eagles. And I would have liked to have seen them with Vince Gill, because I think he's an amazing guitar player. But I've seen them once, and, I could justify the crazy ticket price once. I don't know that I urgently need to see them a second time, but if the opportunity presented itself, financials aside, I would do it, because they put on a hell of a show.
Yeah.
I hate giving Don Henley my money because he's such a jackass, but
yeah,
I love the band.
And you know what? I concur with a lot of that. So here's my Eagles rundown, because I've seen them twice. Once is the new iteration, so I'll get to that in a second. I will pull up. I'll bring up this one. This will be the most recent time. So this will be the time with Deacon and with Vince. But 2009, I think, is what this ticket says. Yeah, Long Road Out of Eden. So it was the same. It was the
Same
same
tour.
show that you saw. It was just in 2009. Yours was 2008.
Well, mine probably would have been mine was 2008.
Yeah.
Yeah, but that tour went on for like 2 years. So
Exactly. And look, there's a pick. I'm not sure. I'm going to go with it being Joe's. It could have been one that was just laying on the ground, but I'm going with it being Joe's. So
I don't know if you have kids, Joe, but if you'd like to leave me that in your will, that would be okay.
I can certainly do that. That is not
I'll
a
send
problem.
you my mailing address.
Perfect. That's great. So the first time, and I didn't bring up the set list, but it was the set list that you saw, or it was the same set list that you were at. Except I seem to remember it starting with, and yours didn't. I thought it started with Hotel California.
No, not the one I was at.
Yeah, so I don't know if maybe they just changed it up for Saskatoon, maybe because it was a little later and they flipped this stuff around. But so we all know I'm old. I'm 58. So I was around when Hotel California first came out, and actually this isn't. It's over there, but I do have the copy of Hotel California that I bought, the first album that I bought with my money. So an Eagles fan for a long time. I never got to see him, and then finally got a chance to see him. And then the first song they played was Hotel California. It was like, holy shit. I don't know. I think you said religious experience, and to a certain extent, as much as I'm a religious guy, it certainly was, because it was like, I have listened to this song for so many years and have loved this song, and I don't get tired of it. It's one that still gets played. I could hear it again tomorrow, and I don't have a problem with it.
Funny thing is, it's the one Eagles song I don't like. I am sick of it.
That they could play and you'd be okay with.
I skip it all the time. However, just to be in that, I just closed my eyes and I'm just like, Joe Walsh is playing that solo.
Yeah.
100 feet away from me.
Exactly.
Wow.
Yeah.
Sorry, continue on.
Oh, no, not at all. And they changed it up a little bit. And I don't know if they changed it up a little bit for you, almost like a little bit of a Spanish, for lack of the proper way of putting it, tone to it.
Yeah.
Like some bongos at the start. And I mean, it's still Hotel California, and it was still the same great song, but
that's the way they did it. That's the way they did it on the Hell Freezes Over tour as well.
Yes, that's right.
When they did it at our show, it wasn't that way. It was the full album,
album version,
no bongos and any of that kind of stuff.
Yeah,
I like the Spanishy kind of flamenco sort of.
I didn't hate it. Yeah, actually, there is a full blown Spanish sung in Spanish, not by them. I'm not sure the band, but it sounds really good. I mean, the song's just a good song, so anybody can sing it, and it sounds good. I'll talk about the other show, which was more recent, a few years ago. But Catherine, you haven't seen the Eagles, correct?
No, I haven't seen them live, but as a kid in the 70s, I liked the Eagles a lot. In fact, I know all these songs. I've got Eagles records in my collection. My latest video, I talked about the Eagles because I'm going through my 70s box.
Right.
And I did a little video about the Life magazine that I have, their 50th anniversary of the band, and I put some pictures of the band. Like, I talked about the early members and who was originally in the band and how they transformed over the years. And that Greatest Hits album is the best Greatest Hits album ever, like sold platinum wise. I think it's 36 million with all the reissues.
Yeah.
But if you have an original, it has the message in the dead wax, so that's kind of cool.
I got one of those.
Yeah, I do too. There was a million of them, so I have one too.
Yeah, the embossed cover, and
yeah, it says something like "Happy New Year, Glenn," and
something like that.
Something like that. I can't remember, but I know all their songs. And what's really cool about your set list is I'm a big fan of Glenn's solo career and also Don Henley's solo songs that he did with Mike Campbell. I mean, some of those songs are just so awesome.
Yeah. That was one thing. You're right. And we didn't mention that. And I was glad they did that, is that they did do a little bit of their solo stuff. Although I don't know if Glenn did anything of his specific, that I can think of. Like Timothy did, I can't remember, something from Poco. And then obviously Don did a couple of things. And Joe did Rocky Mountain Way and Life's Been Good. I think he got two. I think he even got Funk 49 in there too, actually.
Yeah, generally. I mean, you can't have, I mean, Joe Walsh is arguably the most popular member of the group. So you can't you can't have Joe Walsh on stage and not let him do those songs.
No, exactly. That's the thing. So
what's his song about? What's it called? You can't find the door. That
Life's Been Good.
Life's Been Good.
Good. Yeah, that song was in the late 70s.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's
I drive my Roddy. It goes 105, and lost my license, and now I can't drive.
very good song. Very good song. So I guess I did bring up the set list. So this is the set list, excuse me, that I most recently saw them. And it was for the Canadians, you'll know what the Memorial Cup is, but for the non-Canadians, the Memorial Cup is junior hockey. So you're not in the pros yet, you're a step below. It's the championship, the Canadian championship. It's the Memorial Cup. So and it was here in Regina in, what year was it? I can't remember. It was 2018. So the opening ceremonies was the opening ceremonies, and then the Eagles played. So it was pretty decent. The guy, one of the bigwigs in town, is a huge Eagles fan, so he just paid for them to come and play the opening ceremony. So thank you, Gavin, if you're out there. Not bad. So they had, because of the come on, Joe, spit it out. Because of the Memorial Cup, there was an app for it, like there is for everything in the world. And if you signed up for the app, you got entered to win tickets. So one of the guys that I work with won the tickets, that because he signed up for the app, he won the tickets. And the bonus was that they were front row center, like from me to you away, Rob. Well, not literally where you are, but the screen. So
you and I are about 2,000 kilometers away from each other. At the
moment. But I mean, from here to the
yeah, I know what you mean.
So I could almost touch Joe, not quite, because there was a gap. But yeah, I mean, they are the greatest seats to a show that I will ever get. I guess unless I get up on stage at some point. But they were right in the middle, and Joe was right there. And Joanne, my lovely wife, is a huge Vince Gill fan, and we'll talk about Vince in the band. But so Vince Gill was right there, and Joe was right there, and then everybody else was there as well. So yeah, I was just like, I have pictures, and I should have brought them up, and I don't know where the hell they are, but there is no zoom on my camera, and it's like he's standing right there, and he was his typical Joe Walsh self, and I think everybody that knows him knows what I mean by that.
Yeah.
So that was pretty lucky. That was very lucky, because the guy, I had tickets, but the guy that won them said, here, you might as well go, because I know how much it matters to you. So you go sit in the good seats, and I'll go sit in the 9th row, which still would have been perfectly fine.
Wow.
Yeah. So that was very, very cool. And Vince sounded great. And another guy that I work with is a pretty good guitar player. And he thinks that Vince is maybe the better of the guitar players. Joe's got a style for sure.
He does.
But Vince, according to my buddy who's a pretty good guitar player, says that Vince is a very good guitar player.
I would agree. I would agree with that.
Yeah.
Joe certainly does have his own sound, and it is instantly distinguishable.
Yes.
You know it's him all the time.
Yeah.
Vince is absolutely a better technical player, hands down.
My Vince Gill show and tell.
Oh, there you go.
I'm trying not to get glare, but
oh no, that's fine.
This one, and I have this one too. I still believe in you, that ballad that he wrote for his ex-wife.
And I mean, he belonged. He really belonged. Like, he could have been there from the start.
Yes.
Because obviously he can sing and he can play, and he did most of Glenn's stuff. Deacon did a bunch. Like, it was either Vince sang Glenn songs or Deacon sang Glenn songs, and I can't remember which were which. Right. And Deacon was really good as well. You know, he sounded great. And he kind of just played his part, and he was happy to be there. And I think he left for a while, but he's back again on the most recent iteration, right?
Yeah.
But so I've seen them with Glenn. Now, I've never seen them originally, but to see them with Vince and Deacon was not a bad thing. Again, I mean, for Joanne, it was fantastic because she didn't come the first time. So she still wants to see Vince on his own, because he was supposed to come forever ago and then canceled for some reason. But so she kind of got to see Vince and likes the Eagles. So it was, a little bit of a consolation prize. But yeah, just phenomenal, and a bit of a shorter set. It was cold. because it was like, it's still hockey season. So, and it was at the outdoor stadium. So it's still 21 songs, which is a little short of a set for them, actually.
Sure, yeah.
But
did Vince get to do one of his songs? Because he normally does, what is it? Don't Let Our Love Slipping Away, or whatever that song is.
Yeah, no, he didn't. But yeah, as you can see, Funk 49,
yeah,
Life's Been Good, Rocky Mountain Way, like Joe's pretty much the end of the set almost.
Yeah.
So, and the only other thing I'll say, and then I'll let you guys talk a little bit as well, is and back to your Don Henley comments. It was highly suggested that you do not stand at the concert. He wanted everybody to sit down, and I'm not sure the reason. Like, he wanted you to enjoy yourself, but I think he might have even said it publicly or in some form of a statement. We don't want people to stand up at our concerts. But come on, man, what are you doing? It's a concert. It was, yeah. And
he's such a pretentious douchebag and controlling, narcissistic asshole.
Yeah. The only thing I can think about that is like, I saw John Mellencamp, and John Mellencamp doesn't like people that scream at his concerts.
Right.
Like, he says that I'm older and it distracts me. And it can make me mess up. So I don't know. Maybe I'm being a little too forgiving, but just, I don't know.
Yeah. Actually, there's a guy I saw a long time ago that was really good as well, John Cougar. I'll have to talk about him one night. But yeah, I'm not sure what else to say about the Eagles. Again, fantastic.
Yeah.
The harmonies were spot on. The musicianship was spot on. You just got to get over the fact that they are who they are. And I equate that to, and you and I have discussed this before, Roger Waters. Roger Waters is equally as, or even maybe a bigger, but I still had to go because it was the first time I got a chance to last year. And I just, okay, I'm not going to think about anything, but I want to hear the music. I know you're an asshole, and I know you've got some messed up politics and everything else, but I want to hear the music, and I'm not going to hear David Gilmour do it. So I'm going to go and see you do it. So,
it's just unfortunate that the Eagles' legacy now may be tarnished a little bit with Henley's lip syncing. I get that he's a perfectionist.
Yeah.
And I appreciate that when it comes to crafting the music, but people are not paying to watch you fake it. I would much rather the person actually sing and be a little flat, a little sharp, a little off key, whatever, but at least I'm hearing them sing it.
Yeah.
And that's kind of a shame. But.
Well, and do they need the money? No. I don't think anybody in that band needs the money. And at this point, I don't think they're doing it to get out there because maybe there's some people who haven't seen them. I think at this point, although there was a long stretch where they weren't out on the road, they've been pretty solid out on the road. So I think you've had lots of opportunities to go and see them. So I'm not sure. I guess it's the farewell, and let's kick the cat one more time, I suppose. But
well, they've had like 4 farewell tours, but they're such a good band musically. Musicians, they're incredible. They're great singers. Even if Henley can't do it as well as he used to anymore, he shouldn't have to lip sync, because you know what? They're going to put on such a damn good show. The people are going to look past him being a little flat, a little sharp, a little off key, whatever.
Agreed.
But he just can't let go of it being perfect. It's not going to be perfect. It's a live show. Let it be a live show.
Yeah. You know what? And that's the thing. So if we flip back to Elton, he still sounded great. Now, arguably, it was a couple of years ago, and he's got a few more, but I watched the from Dodger Stadium, the most recent, I guess, broadcast of it. Still sounds fine. Again, it's an octave lower. As you said, Catherine, in the book, he says that himself. So the notes are all still there. It's just an octave lower. So, and I don't know if Don is expecting to be, probably wants to be perfect, right?
Well, and that's a good point. There are a lot of aging musicians that'll do that. They'll lower the key.
Yeah.
You probably saw that when you saw U2 at the Sphere. Bono doesn't sing as nearly as high as he used to because he can't. And Henley should just do the same thing. Desperado's still going to sound phenomenal. Even if he drops it an octave, it's still going to sound great.
Oh, I know. Yeah, and Bono sounded perfectly fine. It was different, but it was fine. So that's the thing. Anyway.
And I would actually rather them do that, because in that way, it kind of freshens it up a little bit because it
Yeah.
doesn't sound the same as the record you've heard for the last 40 years.
Nope, that's right.
So
Exactly.
good for Elton for doing that, realizing that, especially since I guess he said vocal surgery,
Yeah.
he realizes there's limitations to his voice. So he's such an incredible musician. He finds a way to still make those songs sound incredible. So hats off to him.
He's had cancer too, and in his book he talks
I didn't know
about
that.
yeah, he had prostate cancer. He kept it kind of quiet, but he talked about having to have surgery, and the doctor said you need to stay home and rest. Well, he said he didn't tell the doctor, but he said I can't cancel on all these people. He said I could be in pain at home, like being stir crazy, or I could be in pain playing the piano and faking it till I make it. And he actually went out there and played in pain.
Good for him.
Yeah. So you remember Davey playing it when you saw him, and I'm pretty sure that Nigel was probably with him because I think that he is from the start. Actually, he's from the start. And actually, I just bought a collection that's actually got a couple of Nigel Olsson solo albums in it that I've never seen before, and I haven't had a chance to listen to them, but I'm looking forward to it. But that was the thing, is that Elton is such a personality and is so good on his instrument, the piano, but everybody else was still really good in that band, and he didn't overshadow. At least I didn't find. I don't know if you found that when you saw them.
I just appreciate that early band. I mean, there was Caleb Quay was in there for a while too, but when I watch Elton, I watch the other people. I do that at every concert. I watch the other people, not just the lead star or whatever. I'm very much like drummers, and I watch the musicianship of the other people. And that's part of the fun of a concert for me, is just watching the other musicians that make the song.
Yeah. No, I agree. Definitely. I'm never quite sure who to look at, though. I guess if it's a guitar solo, I'm usually looking at the guitar player. Nobody ever looks at the bass player, but that's not true. That's not
Depends
fair.
on the bass player.
Depends on the bass. Yeah.
I'm wearing the shirt.
I was going to say, there's a bass player in Duran Duran that you probably would keep an eye on, I would imagine. So,
well, his bass lines are very, what can I say? His bass lines are very iconic.
Yes, very much so.
Yeah, very much so.
So other than Leave On, was there anything else? I mean, he's got so many songs and so many hits. Was there anything else that you would have liked to have heard that you didn't?
I don't remember not hearing what I my favorite songs, and I can tell you what some of my favorite songs are. Off the first album, Border Song. I love Border Song. And then you get into, I don't think he played Mona Lisa in Mad Hatters, but I like that song.
Yeah,
and
that's a good song.
I like those 80s songs. I like I'm Still Standing, and what's the other one? I love The Bitches Back live, and I love Burn Down the Mission, and I mean, there's so many Elton John songs that I like. I mean, I like Goodbye Yellow Brick Road. I like Funeral for a Friend. I mean, I could go on and on.
Well, I know that's the thing, right? It really was a concert.
Philadelphia Freedom is awesome. I absolutely love it. Absolutely love Philadelphia Freedom.
It was.
I think that's why she won the tennis game. I do.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I think so. To have a song written for you like that.
Yes.
It has such a good story behind that song.
Yeah, it was certainly one of those shows where it's like every word to every song, and he did some keyboard solos, piano solos, and stretched a few things out like Benny and the Jets, but that's what he started with the most recent time that we saw him. So again, that first song is pretty important to kind of kick things off. Especially when you've got that much of a career, you can certainly pick one of your bigger hits because you know that you're going to have another 2 hours of hits to go with. So, Rob, was there an Eagles song that you missed that you can think of? It's a while ago now, I guess, right? But
no, I don't think so. I mean, they played everything that you'd expect them to play. I mean, I'm a deep cut for the bands that I love. I'm a deep cut kind of guy. So. Right. I mean, I'm never going to hear the Eagles do Nightingale, or I'm never going to hear them do, I don't know.
Well, like even stuff like The Last Resort, which maybe they did. I can't remember, but yeah, I mean, I think there was a tour a couple years ago where it was all of Hotel California, like the
Yeah,
whole
they
the
did. It
whole
was like an
right?
anniversary thing. Yeah.
Which would have been good. So yeah, I've got no regrets with either of those bands as far as going and not getting to what I wanted to hear. Now both of them played for 2+ hours. Elton was almost 3. I think the one time we saw him, he probably was 3. So
I think mine was
um,
3 as well. It was 3 hours.
yeah, you get your money's worth. You really do, for sure. So yeah, and you said you saw Eagles with a old girlfriend at the time.
No, girlfriend that is now wife.
Oh, current. Oh, well, that's good. That's even
Yeah.
better then. Yeah. And
Yeah.
Catherine, who did you go and see Elton with?
I went with my mom and the next door neighbor's man and wife. So I went with those 4 people. And
Oh, that's awesome.
my mom loves Elton John, and so did the neighbors. So it was 4 people that I went
That's
with.
great.
4 of us together.
It's nice. It's nice when you go with people that enjoy it. It's also nice to take someone who's not really sure and that they do enjoy it, which is kind of cool too. Here's the other one that I pulled out: Captain Fantastic and the Brown Dirt
Fantastic.
Cowboy. One of the greatest album covers, I think, anyway. For the
It's got so
artwork.
much stuff on there. Yeah.
Yeah, so much. We should quickly talk about a big part of Elton John is obviously Bernie Taupin, right? I
Yeah.
mean, that's right arm, left arm. Now, most recently, or not, they just had a show, I think it was 2 weeks ago, where they won an award, and I can't remember what it was, but then there was a bunch of bands
Rock
performed.
and Roll Hall of Fame.
No, there was something else like I can't remember, the President's Award or something. Anyway, Metallica did a cover of Love Lies Bleeding and Funeral for a Friend, which if you haven't seen is pretty good, because that's a pretty great, those are 2 great songs to begin with, and actually Metallica do a pretty good job of it as well. So if you're out and about on the YouTubes, it's something to look for. So
Bernie's awesome. You know what the song Mona Lisa and Mad Hatters is about, right?
yeah.
But he hates New York.
Yes.
Would you get the impression from that beautiful melody and the metaphoric lyrics that it's about a city you hate? I mean, you kind of get it, but it's so beautiful.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing too, is those 2, I mean, the Eagles the same, but what I was going to say is those 2 came out of the gate so strong with your song, and then they just continued to nail it after, one after another. And there was a lot of great songs on the albums as well. They were definitely writing albums, not just singles at that time. And the Eagles, again, back to even the Linda Ronstadt days, right? Backing her up and stuff like that. They were pretty solid. You talk about the greatest hits package. Well, that was just the first 3 albums, and they were already able to put together a greatest hits. So they came out pretty strong. And then they came out with Hotel California and The Long Run, and then the rest. So, but right, for the most part, that's not completely fair, but really, I mean, that's kind of the meat of the Eagles pie.
Yep.
So.
I admire the Eagles and Elton John and Bernie just for the songwriting they have given us. I mean, those songs are just absolute lyrical poetry, just great lyrics. The chord progressions and changes. I mean, they just don't make them like they used to.
Yeah, no, that's right. That's right. Okay, so I'm going to talk a little bit about one that I went to on Wednesday night, and I don't think you guys have seen them. And as I look off screen, which is rude, just so that I can get to the right screen to show here, I went and saw 90s band Everclear. I'm not sure. I mean, you guys remember Everclear, right?
Of course.
Yes, I do.
And Rob?
They were wonderful.
They were wonderful. Yes, they certainly were. And I'm going to bring up the set list here. They were actually really, really good. I wasn't sure what to expect. And the reason I say that is because I saw Collective Soul, which in no way really equates to one or the other. The only thing is they both were around in the 90s, kind of, and, kind of had their heyday. And I saw Collective Soul last year, and that's one of those 3 concerts that I did not like because Ed cannot sing anymore. I don't think it was the sound guy, because it was a little bit of a festival, and Bill Henderson from Chilliwack was on right before him, who's 150, I think, and sounded perfect. He sounded great. So it wasn't the sound. So it was either their sound guy sucked or Ed just couldn't sing. And it was unfortunate because I was really looking forward to them. I hadn't seen them and I really liked a lot of their stuff, and it was just bad. And I just didn't enjoy it. But anyway, what I did enjoy was these guys. And, they were not huge, but they had a bunch of fairly big hits. One, of course, being Wonderful that you mentioned. AM Radio, I don't know, that's one that I really enjoyed. It was great live. They did a really good job. Obviously, I Will Buy You a New Life, one of their bigger hits. Santa Monica, and then they ended up with a cover song, but Santa Monica was great. And another singer whose voice is not what it used to be, but it still sounded great. He just toned it down. And he had a really good backup guy on bass, actually, that filled in and sang maybe a little more harmony than he normally would. And that's how some of these guys should get it done as well. But some of them are just too proud to let someone else over on another microphone. Unfortunately, it's too bad. But yeah, it was really good. Father of Mine, Heroin Girl, which was not necessarily a big hit, but one that I wanted to hear, started off with So Much for the Afterglow. Just a great show. And I had heard from a few people, oh, they don't have any energy. They just sit there. Well, he's 62.
The music's good. It doesn't matter.
Yeah, exactly. But he's 62. He's got MS, and he was more active than I've been for the last 2 or 3 days. That's for sure. So, yeah. And the band was great.
How much of it was the original band? Was it all of them?
Just him. No, just the lead singer. New drummer, new bass player, and then they were kind of like Green Day, where there was always another guitar player, but he was never in the videos in that.
Right.
Or kind of like Pat was in Nirvana, right? Where Pat was always kind of there, but not really in any of the videos in that. Right. So, yeah, I don't know if you'll get a chance, but I'd highly recommend anybody watching this, if they come near you, go and see him, because again, the voice is not exact, but the voice is good. They were good. And it was very nostalgic, I guess. Kind of.
That's the word that popped into my. It's nice to see in the last year or so how many of these 90s bands are finding a resurgence in popularity. I don't know if that's because the kids, I can say that because, I'm in my mid 40s now, but are rediscovering the music that I grew up with. I mean, this was music when I was a teenager.
Right.
So it's great, Everclear, the Goo Goo Dolls are still at it. I would love to go see them.
Yep.
No Doubt just did their reunion on the weekend at Coachella. I mean, it's great to see these 90s bands I don't say making a comeback, but it's fantastic.
Yeah, it's the next wave, right? Like there was the 70s bands and the 80s bands, and now it's that. A weird example of that, though, is arguably Everclear, not huge, but pretty big at the time, right? There was a time where they had like 2 or 3 songs that were pretty massive. I
remember seeing them all the time on Much Music when I was
played lots and lots. They had good videos too.
Yeah.
But Green Day, about the same time frame and about the same amount of success. So I went and saw these guys, and there was 1,000 people. It was full. It was sold out, but the venue only hold 1,000. And then I'm going to see Green Day in the baseball stadium in Minneapolis with 60,000.
The difference being, though, Green Day never left the spotlight. They have been at the top of their game for 30 years, right? Yeah. Whereas people like Everclear and the Goo Goo Dolls, they're almost a legacy act at this point in time. Yeah, maybe they've put out new stuff. I know the Goo Goo Dolls have, but they don't have the popularity they had in the 90s. People are going to see them because of who they are in the 90s. People are going to see Green Day because they've consistently made kick-ass albums for the last 30 years.
Yeah, I'd argue that Saviors, the most recent, it's in the same category as Dookie and American Idiot. It's
100%
really
agree. It's 100% agree.
And the more I listen to it, the more I like it. So
me too.
Yeah.
Did you know last New Year's Eve celebration in New York City, Green Day was the best act out of the whole thing. If you stayed up and watched that.
Yeah.
They were the only ones that were real musicians.
Yeah. They played they played
kicked ass at the Grey Cup.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That's right. They were great. They were fantastic. And yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. I never look at set lists. I don't like to look at set lists before the show because I never want to be disappointed and know that I'm not going to hear my song. So I'm still disappointed when I don't hear my song, which doesn't come up much. But what's nice with Green Day is they've said they're playing Dookie and they're playing American Idiot in their entirety. So I know for sure I'm getting Jesus of Suburbia, which is the, if you guys don't play that song, I'm coming to kick your ass song
Right.
for me anyway. So
I'm with you.
So I know that they're playing it, which is kind of nice. But you know, they could play this whole new album too, and I'd be perfectly fine with that as well. So
Green Day is on my list of bands that I must see. I have not yet, but I will at some point.
Yeah, very good.
Another 90s groups that are playing here locally this summer are Red Hot Chili Peppers and the Smashing Pumpkins.
Yeah. My daughter has seen the Chili Peppers, and that would be a good show. They just they haven't been around here anyway for a while. So I've had to travel for everything lately, which is fine. I don't mind doing it. It gets a little pricey to be traveling to Minneapolis instead of just, you know, down to the stadium to see them here, but that's all right. It's worth it. So anyway, Everclear, for those that are watching, and if you guys get a chance, I recommend. I would go and see them for sure. So there you go. Rob, what's going on your channel? I know you've got live tomorrow night, and then what else is going on?
Live tomorrow night. Me and the boys are talking about. We haven't decided yet.
Haven't decided yet. Yeah,
we'll figure it out probably tomorrow afternoon.
Sure.
Some of the guys may be taking time off over the summer, so I may have to recruit you once or twice, Joe, if you're still interested.
Yeah, if I'm available, you let me know.
Joe and I are going to record an episode for the Vinyl Community Podcasts, which I host once or twice a month. So that should be up maybe next week sometime, but we'll keep posted on that. And I just did a video, and I can't even remember. Oh, I just did a video about songs that are based on true stories.
Oh, right.
Whether they're people or events or whatever. And
cool.
that was a lot of fun to make, actually. And several people have said, well, I might jump on that. So it may turn into a thread.
Are you going to do a tag or something, or a thread?
Well, that wasn't my intention, but I think a few people have said they're going to make responses. So, yeah.
Yeah, that'll be good. And there's that secret thing you got coming up sometime too, maybe, right?
Yes, we're just trying to work on schedules, and thanks for the reminder. I'm going to send out a group email. We're working on a top secret collaborative thing, which Joe was a part of. So stay tuned on that.
Yeah, very much looking forward to it. So in
other words, I don't have any concrete plans other than the live stream tomorrow, and Joe and I are going to do a podcast episode.
Perfect. That's good. Catherine, how about yourself? What have you got up that you'd like people to watch, and what do you got planned?
Okay, well, I don't want to give any secrets away, but I got new albums, and that's what
did you?
Yeah, I ordered one online, and so I'm going to show you that next Monday because I post on Mondays.
Right.
So that came from an online store. So it's kind of a shorter video, but I made a slideshow of pictures at the end. And then I finally spent my gift certificate that I got for Christmas. I had $20 and I went to the record store and I scored. You would not believe what I'll just tell you. He had the new arrivals behind the counter, and I usually start there and film me flipping through, so I didn't get to film. So I went shopping for CDs because I had $20, and you can't get much records for $20.
Yeah.
So long story short, I found a CD that was an import, and that's why I bought it. I got home and there were 2 booklets in it because I read the books while I'm listening to it. And I'm like, why are there 2 in here? Well, the one underneath was autographed.
Awesome.
And I just about, and I checked online to match signatures. And I just know it's genuine. And I'm just so excited.
Well, that's awesome.
And then when I was going through the new arrivals, because he hadn't priced, but he said, hey, you can come look at them now. I found another import. And it's from the 80s. And I love the 80s.
Yep.
So that's all I'm going to say. And
cool.
then the third video is for my piano playing group. we practice songs and then we post them when we can kind of play them well, or I try to play them as well as I can. But for some reason, when I'm in front of the camera, I make mistakes. So I must play a song 8 times and then just edit, figure out which was the best sounding one. But maybe every once in a while I post of me playing the piano, just so for those people that like to see that. It's not a huge crowd, but there's people who sub to me just to see me play.
That's good. That's all right.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
Perfect.
it's just a song that I really like, and yeah, I played it without making a mistake.
That's good. That's always a bonus. Don't be like me and just leave all the mistakes in there, but that's all right. Yeah, and I've just got, I've still got Racers Vinyl Fast 5. We're almost at 50. I think 47 posted yesterday, so a couple more to go before I get to 50. We've got this on Tuesday nights, and yeah, guesting on some other shows and things like that. And it's just been crazy busy lately, but that's all right. That's a good thing. And I don't know why I left this up there so long. We're small screen here. There we go. But anyway, guys, so our takeaways from tonight: Don Hanley's an asshole, but a very good performer. So we'll give him
when
that.
he actually sings.
When he sings, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so we'll go with that. Elton can still get it done. We'll go with that. And if you're watching and you're wondering whether you should go see Everclear, go see Everclear. So, all right, guys, thanks so much. Appreciate it. Thank you so much. That was episode 7, I think. I can't remember. Something like that. I don't know.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
All right. Thanks, everybody, for watching as well. Have a great night. And we'll see you next time for Hey, I Saw Those Guys. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.